Hey, hello everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, just the next in our series of Limelight training webinars. So as always, my name is Valentina. I'm the Product Marketing Manager here at Limelight, and I am joined today by our three fantastic product owners and subject matter experts. We have Logan, our system integrations expert. That's Logan. We have Greg, our subscription billing subject matter expert, and we have Chad, our director of analytics. So that's the team that we have for you today. And as always, we're going to go through the latest features and enhancements to your platform so that you can get the most out of Limelight. But actually today we're going to do things a little bit differently. And at the end of our middle end of our webinar, we're going to open up the floor for you guys to ask questions. We're actually going to let everybody speak and ask their questions if they'd like to. Think of this as a fireside chat Q&A session with your product experts. So any questions that you have about your Limelight platform, doesn't have to be a topic that we talk about today, you will feel free to ask. So because we want to make sure these webinars, you really get the most out of them. So we thought that we'd try this out today and see how it works. And if it does, we can always do more in the future. So before I get started, as always, there is a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. As our product experts are presenting their enhancements today, you can still ask your questions there, and as always, I'm filtering and monitoring them to make sure we answer them. And when we get to the Q&A portion, if you want to ask your question live and actually speak, raise your hand versus typing a question. That way I'll know that you actually want to speak and ask your question live. So, okay, and then without further ado, I think we're going to jump into today's content. Take it away, Logan.
Hey guys, Logan here. A couple of things that I'd like to introduce to you. We have a new enhancement to the new providers page that aggregates all of the provider types on one page. And this new functionality allows for you to export that data to CSV form for organizational purposes. The main topic that I'll be discussing, though, is Pinless Debit. We have a few new enhancements. One is already in production, and the other one is actually going to be a sneak peek that is currently in testing. What's in production today is yeah.
Interrupt you for a sec. Why don't we tell people what Pinless Debit is, because not everybody might know.
Sure. So Pinless Debit is a payment processing solution that we offer that has a high monthly cap and allows for reduced chargeback rates. So it's a very useful payment processing solution that we offer. And the enhancements that we've added involve intelligent cascade by debit or non-debit transactions, which allows for you to set up your Pinless Debit and isolate just debit traffic and use your Pinless Debit mid as kind of a fallback solution if that's your intention. The other thing that I'd like to introduce is a sneak peek of our Pinless Debit payment routing solution and how that also works in tandem with our 3D Verify routing solution. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here.
And while Logan's sharing his screen, I just wanted to point out that the reason that this solution is so powerful is because actually, correct me if I'm wrong, Logan, but about 60% of most of our clients, the traffic that flows through the Limelight platform is debit.
Yes, that is correct. And so that allows for you to process a good majority of your traffic, and we offer many chargeback solutions that will allow for you to reduce the chargeback rate on your other mids that would, receive a little bit more credit traffic by nature of using Pinless Debit. So what I'd like to show here to start under settings, providers, our new providers page here now has the ability, you've always had the ability here to filter, but you can now export. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you. If I filter by payment type here, you have all of your mids, and you can perform a CSV export. And here's that file. And so, as I mentioned, you can, kind of export this data and use it to your organizational benefit. Fairly simple feature, but something that we did not have until this past week here.
And that's also a great tool when you're trying to organize by mid group. That's come up in a lot of discussions. As you'll see on that export file, there's actually a column for mid group. So if you're looking to organize your gateways into those corporate entities, that's a very easy way to do that as well.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. Next thing I want to show you is this is the solution that is in production. This is to cascade by Debit. So I've set up a simple cascade, intelligent cascade profile. And the idea here would be you can cascade any of your mids to Pinless Debit and isolate just your Pinless Debit traffic. So this new payment method drop-down option here allows for you to isolate just your debit traffic and use your Pinless Debit as sort of a fallback mid instead of introducing it to your load or payment routing profile. So what I want to show you actually, in addition to that, is a sneak peek of the routing intuition that we've added to the payment routing profile. So under Payments, Payment Routing, I've set up a payment routing profile that actually has two features enabled here. We have 3D Verify routing and Pinless Debit routing. So I've set up a simple profile with a couple of normal mids, a couple of 3D Verify mids, and a couple of Pinless Debit mids. Now, the way that you used to be configuring Pinless Debit would be here within Advanced Routing. So if I go in here, I'll show you that this used to be a little bit cumbersome here to enable by debit routing per gateway. And of course, you would have to kind of go through and apply this to all of your mids, and then of course only debit for your Pinless Debit mids. So the way that that's changed is now you don't have to use advanced routing at all. You actually just toggle this switch on here, and you're able to input a transactional volume of your debit traffic that will flow through Pinless Debit. So I have that set right here to 80. So 80% of my debit traffic will route to Pinless Debit. The remaining 20% will route to the other mids within your profile. Now, I mentioned also 3D Verify routing. So any traffic that comes in with 3D tokens, if you have this enabled, you're actually able to make sure that you're routing to a 3D Verify mid where the token will be used. So that's pretty much all I have to show. If anyone has any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Yeah, what is 3D Verify?
So 3D Verify is a solution that it's also a chargeback solution that allows for you to reduce the rate of chargeback right up front. So it basically prevents your customers from calling their bank and charging back for particular chargeback reasons, including I did not authorize this transaction. And the premise is that on the checkout page, we're actually gathering tokens from a 3D network, routing that through to the gateway, and that's able to secure the transaction in a way where they can no longer charge it back from square one.
Cool, yeah, looks like we don't have any questions for now. Again, everybody, your Q&A icons at the bottom of your screen if you want to chat us any questions. But Logan's going to stay on, and a little bit later, you guys feel free to ask him questions about any of your integrations that maybe you're working with in your business today. So
one thing to mention before we move on is that this 3D Verify routing solution is in production today. This Pinless Debit routing solution is coming in the near future, within the next week or so.
Now, both of those settings wouldn't require me to use advanced routing in tandem with those, would they?
No. In fact, this would be overriding your advanced routing settings. So this is basically an easier way of configuring. I know within advanced routing, you have to apply your advanced routing per campaign, which can be kind of troublesome from a configuration standpoint because you have to do it per mid per campaign. So this simplifies that by just basically toggling this on, and it does all the work for you.
Cool. I think next we have our Director of Analytics, Chad. He's going to be talking about the latest and greatest that we have for you in analytics.
Okay, thanks, Val. So I'm going to, we'll see how this works, but I'm going to try to jump back and forth from my screen to Val's screen. But just to give you an idea of what we're going to cover today, I'm going to talk about 3 new features that some of you might really like, and some of you might say, no big deal. But nonetheless, we'll go through them, and hopefully you find them interesting. So the first one is drills, and I'll show you that in a minute. But what happens here is, and I've received just a ton of feedback on this in the past, is people just wanted to be able to drill all the way into the order ID on every one of our reports and dashboards. So we've enabled that. So now you can go in and actually go right into your the order IDs. Again, I'll show you that. But the reason that's useful is a couple of reasons. I mean, mainly people find it useful in troubleshooting. So if they've got a bunch of orders that they're not really sure where they're coming from, or how they're valued, I guess, they can drill into those specific orders and figure it out. I know a couple of weeks ago we had a client call in that had a problem with a specific group of orders. And so through this drill functionality, we were able to actually provide him a list of people to call and figure out, why were they, the issue there was that they were canceling very quickly. And it looked like survey traffic, but the media partner said it wasn't survey traffic. So long story short, they used the drill functionality to figure out that it was indeed survey traffic, and they got some credits on their payment to their partner. So the second feature that I'll cover is one-click downloads. I'm calling it that, but really what it is it allows you to, when you're on a report and you click download, and I'll show you how to do this, but once you click download, you're able to get not just the report that you see, but also you're automatically going to get the traffic source information that comes with it. You'll also see on site, you're going to see, like on the website, you'll see all the traffic source numbers right there on a table below, and I'll show you that in a minute. And then we'll get into membership a bit, and I hope Greg can speak to this after I'm done talking through some of these reports. But we've got some pretty cool membership features that are coming out. They've already come out, but we're making them robust. It seems like week after week we've got some pretty cool features. So hopefully, Greg, you can speak to that in a bit. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay. Okay. Can you see my screen, Val?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. So the first thing that we'll look at is we're going to go into, we're going to drill into some order IDs. So I'll just start with the order analysis. This is the most popular dashboard that we have. And I think I may have timed out here. So let me refresh and see if that works. So in the order analysis, what you'll see here is the drills to go to the order IDs. They're not in these single value charts that you see at the top. We call these single value charts. Where you'll get this functionality is by drilling into actual numbers. So if I drill into this number, and this is a pretty big number, so it might take a little bit. But as I drill into this, there we go, what I'll see is I have an option here for order ID. I can click on that, and now I can click and go right into that order detail. So, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You can download these results. You can see that the row limit is reached. So I think the row limit's 500. So if you need to get more, you can sort by order ID, or you can do various sorts to get into the specific data that you want. But it's pretty robust, fairly quick. I mean, that was a pretty big query, and that didn't take long. But again, the use case of this, or what I've seen people use this for most, is just troubleshooting and general problem solving. You know, they have a question: what is with this group of orders? What's with this group of orders from this affiliate, from this country? They have these types of questions, and now they can actually drill into that detail and really get to at the customer level, which is certainly helpful. Now, the second feature is over in reports. And so if we just go to the sales by products report, what you'll see here is that I am now able to just one-click download the data. So like, I've only got it for today, but if I wanted to, expand this, let's just say, is in the range, we go back to like the 13th to, today, hit run. That might take a little bit, but what you'll see here is now I can click this gear icon once it's done running. But yeah, there it's done. So now I can click this gear icon. I can download as CSV. It's going to prompt another window, and it's going to come to me right in the bottom of the window here. And you can get into there. And once you get into there, you're going to get, I'm just opening up another file here. You'll get 3 files. One file with all your data that's on this look right here, this table. And then a second file with all your traffic source data in it. So like you'll be able to see if you've got affiliates running or paid search running, whatever you've got running, you'll be able to see not just your by campaign ID, but your affiliate ID and your sub-affiliate IDs, your sub-IDs. So that hopefully is helpful. And we've got that functionality on 3 of the reports: sales by campaign, sales by prospects, and then sales by retention. So we'd love to hear your feedback on that if you've got any. But that too was a pretty popular request that came our way. And so we're just trying to integrate as many of these requests as we can. So the third item here is membership insights. So if you remember, I think I talked a couple weeks ago, it was a few now, but we have a new dashboard for customers. And I don't know if you haven't seen it, it's pretty cool, but it's under marketing dashboards. So if I go into this dashboard, what it shows me is just basically the general information about all my customers: who's active, who's not, what the MRR is, gross revenue, that type of thing. You can get it. You can drill into the actual customer records, which is pretty cool. If you need to export lists, whatever you need to do. So what this feature does is it's really, really simple from an implementation standpoint, but it allows me to say is yes or no. So now I can say, I want to look at this customer's dashboard specifically by whether or not this person's a member or not. And I'll let Greg talk more about what it means to be a member and what that functionality is all about. But the gist of membership, and Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, but the gist of it to me is that it allows you to have like account manager, like an Amazon would have. You log into your Amazon account, and you can log into your account and look at all your details. We now have that feature, and it's pretty slick. But this report allows you to query by the people who are just members, so you can isolate them.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly it. So what we've done in the past few weeks is we've actually opened up complete API functionality into creating a member login. So upon creation of a new order, you can now choose that person to subscribe as a member. So if I'm checking out and I choose to subscribe as a member, now me as the customer, I can receive an email with a username and password, which allows you as the client to open up a portal for that person to log in and manage their order. And really, the capability of that membership portal is really up to you as the merchant. If you want to let people just log in and view their upcoming subscriptions and view their past order history, you can just have it sort of in a view mode. But if you want to really fully enhance that and allow your customer to log in and place new orders, refund previous orders, change recurring dates, skip next billing, really all the functionality of our API can be opened up to that member. And really what it signifies is a lot of people ask, why should I create a membership portal? And it really enhances customer engagement. Now you have people that fully trust you as the brand. I can log in, I can manage my own order. Signing up for a subscription seems a little bit less risky when I, as the customer, have the ability to manage my own subscription. And it also personalizes that user experience. So if you want to open up a membership portal that maybe has exclusive member prices or discounts for people who are members, you can really open up that full capability. So, when a lot of people ask, why should I create a member? It's really like, how far do you want to go as a branded site? Do you want to just be up running offers, or do you really want to open yourself up to, a full brand?
Cool. Thanks, Greg. Yeah, like I said, it's a pretty cool feature. And I know on Greg's roadmap, there's quite a bit of that, more of that coming. So I figured we better get prepared in analytics for the hard questions on who's members and who's not. So the start of that is by adding that in the filter. And I'm sure we'll get more advanced in reporting as well with membership. But to start, that's where we're going to start, and then we'll iterate from there. So
and it'd be interesting to see, Chad, the difference between CLTV and retention of people who are signed as a member and really have that personalized experience versus, your traditional subscriptions as well. So that's where analytics is really powerful.
Yeah, it's good. It's going to be pretty cool. I'm excited for people to, start to really grasp on to this idea of membership through our system and just see what that data looks like. I love looking at data, and membership data is probably going to be just next level interesting. So I'm looking forward to that. So the last thing that I'll cover here, unless you have any questions, Val, is I just thought I would go into our most popular dashboard this month, and that's the order analysis. So I figured I'd go into it and just give you some broad overview of how people that I talk to use it, and how I would use it if it were me. So to start, I've got some functionality here that you probably aren't familiar with, so I won't cover that. Maybe you won't even notice it, but we've got some stuff going on here that I'll speak more to in Benchmarks webinar in the near future. But so if you start with just the order analysis, why would somebody want to look at this dashboard? And why do so many people look at it? I think when I looked this morning, 62% of our clients look at this dashboard. So it's popular. And when I talk to people, why, and ask them, why do you go to this dashboard every day? What on it makes you want to keep coming back? And the answer is really, the only answer that I can say is consistent across the clients that I talk to is that, hey, it's a starting point. It's where I like to start my day. I want to find out, how things are going, whether it's yesterday or this week, or I want to compare, yesterday to the day before. They use it as a comparison tool. And from here, they go into other areas of analytics. And when I look at usage, that's helpful to me because I look at usage and I see that, we have some dashboards that are very popular, some dashboards that are, mediocre, and then some that just don't get used that much. But it really is about the individual who's looking at these reports. They go into this order analysis and they say, okay, I have an average order problem, or I've got something good going on with the average order. So I want to drill into maybe my traffic source quality dashboard. Maybe I drill into my subscriptions dashboard and just probe more. The other idea that I would share with you here, and it's kind of a little bit off topic, but kind of on topic here, is, I get the question, what's the difference between analytics and reports? And why do you have, the two? And I think, a lot of this, the use of the order analysis speaks to the answer here. And that is there's a big movement that I see in users coming into our platform where they in the past, users were really interested in looking at tabular reports, like a spreadsheet. They just wanted to see the data. And a lot of people still do that. A large percentage of our users still do that. And that's great. But what I see is that now they're supplementing analytics. So they're using on-site, what I call on-site analytics. They're using their web browser to get the answers that they would normally have gotten through doing manipulation in Excel. So that's helpful feedback for me. I see it in the usage, and I'm encouraged by that. But with this dashboard, you can see, so we've got orders here, and I'll just mention it, Val, that, I'll speak to this in a bit, but benchmarking allows you to add these indicators here. So now I can see that my order volume, and it's kind of weird here how I have this set up, but it's my sales demo, but I've got my order volume is 130,000 more than what my benchmark that I set. Now I'll get into that more in the future, but a pretty cool feature there. But you can see your orders, your gross revenue, your in-trial cancellation percentage, your average order value, just the sheer amount of transactions that you're running through. Now, if you hover over, if you have a question on what something is, you can hover over the question marks and just, usually I try to put a real short definition or maybe a formula in there to show you. So prospects, CLTV, you can see your subscription funnel, which is also on the subscriptions report, that type of thing. So pretty useful dashboard, but it's really general in nature. It's high level, and I think that's probably why people like that one so much. So I'm going to stop my share, Val. If you can take over the screen again and show the presentation. All right. So what I wanted to talk through is this feature called benchmarks, and just give you a taste of it. It's coming out. You saw it on my screen there in my sales demo. What it does is it combines two real popular features, KPIs, so key performance indicators, and benchmarking. So if you've got a benchmark in an industry, let's say the benchmark in maybe nutritional supplements diet is, let's say it's $45. I'm making that up, but maybe the AOV is, the average order is $45. That's a benchmark. So now you can use that benchmark to input into the benchmarks feature, and I'll measure that against what reality is. So maybe you're looking at last week, you can tell what the measurement is against that benchmark for last week. But again, I'll get into this more. There's going to be a webinar on July 5th that I've actually got a client that is joining us. Real happy about him agreeing to join us, but we'll talk through the benchmarks feature and just what that means to him, how he's used it over the years. This gentleman has been with Starbucks for 15 years. He's now in our industry. He's been in our industry for the last 5 years. Super sharp guy, and I think you'll really enjoy hearing from him. But with benchmarks, again, if I get back to that, what you'll see is you'll be able to use benchmarks to help you improve upon your current ratios. So whenever you're in analytics, you're going to see the benchmark feature. You're going to see that up arrow or down arrow to know how you're tracking towards your benchmark. And that's always a useful tool. I'll share some research with you that shows or proves that this benchmarking capability actually can help you generate more money and that type of thing. So if you're interested, I'd love to see you in that webinar and get you to sign up. So that's what I have for today, and I'll just hand it back over to Val.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Chad. That was thank you for the story that you shared about how people use order analysis. Yeah, if you guys ever want to hear Chad talk about a dashboard that you have questions about or you'd like him to go through, let us know. And as Chad said, benchmarks is a new feature that is launching tomorrow, so stay tuned for a pretty detailed email about benchmarks tomorrow. And in that email, you'll be able to sign up for the July 5th webinar dedicated specifically to benchmarks. And as Chad said, we'll have a guest speaker who will actually talk about, he's actually he was one of our beta clients for benchmarks, and he'll speak to how he's used benchmarks and how it's really helped him, achieve his business goals. So that's all the topics that we have for you today, new enhancements and topics. And this is where what I alluded to in the beginning of the webinar was that today we're doing something a little bit different. So we have a Q&A session or fireside chat, whatever you want to call it, with our product team. So basically here, this is like a free-for-all. What questions do you guys have about your Limelight platform, and really how can we help you get the most out of the Limelight platform? So as I said, if you want to just ask your questions privately, you can use that Q&A chat icon at the bottom of your screen. But if you want to ask your question live and get a chance to speak directly to one of our product experts, just raise your hand and then I'll know that you want to speak. But just to get you guys thinking, about some questions is, we have Logan, our system integrations guy on the webinar. So recently, I know we've introduced a lot of integrations like Zapier. If you guys have questions about that, we've had some updates to our decline manager recently. If you have any questions, not just about how to set it up, but what decline management is or how you can best optimize it for your business. I know we talked about rebill pre-authorization last week. We had lots of questions around that. So if you have any more questions about that, we had released segments a few months ago, and that really helps you segment your customer and prospect base so that you can really focus your marketing efforts. If anybody has any questions about that. Oh, and actually, it looks like we have a question, but Chad, it's something that you answered already, but that's fine. What's really the difference between analytics and reports, and why would someone look at one over the other?
So yeah, I get that. I get that question pretty frequently. So what I explain to people is that, hey, it's just really what you're comfortable with. Whether it's, do you want to use Excel when you want to answer a question? A lot of people, the answer is yes, and that's cool. But more and more people are starting to maybe use analytics or a business intelligence solution to understand the immediate answer to the question that they have, and then maybe they'll use drilling or or Excel to dive deeper into the question. But what I consistently hear is that it's saving them time. And when I ask why does it save you time, I kind of know the answer, but it's pretty obvious that they're not having to download data into Excel and manipulate it. So I guess one's not better than the other. It's just really your preference. And if you're looking to get quick answers to questions that you have throughout the day, or maybe like I always started my morning. That's what I did. A cup of coffee and analytics. That's what I did. And I think a lot of people get into that same kind of routine, and that's great. But I still want to get into Excel here and there. So yeah.
Cool. Actually, since I mentioned segments, somebody seems to have a question. Greg, this one I guess is for you. What is segments, and what kind of is the importance of segmenting your customers?
Yep. So segments primarily was meant to be a marketing tool. So a way to create cohorts of your customers based on condition sets of that customer. So you can do it from anything from geographic location all the way to behavior of that customer. If I'm looking for people who have purchased over X amount of dollars, or have bought maybe this product and this product together, and I want to do a marketing campaign to reach out to those people to try to get them to repurchase. Maybe I want to offer them a discount, something like that. Where the wide use case of segments has kind of gotten open is, people are creative and they say, I just want this list to maybe monetize on my prospects. So I'm just trying to get a list of my prospects on a certain campaign, and then run a campaign to try to, monetize on those. And I've seen people just use it as an internal feature where they can just kind of break their customers into different lists to sort of understand their business. So it kind of opens, a wide array of use case. But the primary use case is for a marketing tool.
Can I say something about that just real quick too? I believe that that's one of the coolest features. I've been at Limelight a little over 2 years now, and it's just a really cool feature. It's probably one of the coolest things I've seen come out. So when I was at Whole Foods, we used a tool a lot like Greg built to analyze based on recency, frequency, and monetary data. And that tool is just perfect use case for that. I would have killed to have something like that. 15 years ago.
As we build more things in, more features in Limelight, there's more, segment cohort groups that are going to be created. So certain things like, we've built member capability. We're working on some new functionality with, gifting and stuff like that. And all of those things can be built within segments. So really, this is an open request. If you have a particular data point that you want to create a cohort about, simply reach out to us and we can add condition sets to segments. It's a very open-ended project. So.
Cool, thanks. Looks like we have a question about Decline Manager. I think they'd like some advice on how best to set their Decline Manager settings.
Yeah, I can speak on that behalf. So we, you can set up your own custom Decline Manager profile with the rules that are available in Limelight. Or alternatively, we do offer a FlexPay service, which actually uses AI to generate the most effective retry date given, all sorts of different metrics so that you don't have to worry about setting those rules yourself. Now, if I were to recommend using the rules internally available within the Decline Manager profile, you could consider rules such as rule by decline reason. And if you, for instance, encounter insufficient funds, you might want to reschedule that on a Friday, which is typically payday. So the strategies like that. But again, FlexPay does all of that for you, and I would highly recommend using that service.
Great, yeah, and obviously you have a chance to talk to our product experts here, but you have your own, everybody has their dedicated client success manager. So if you have any follow-up questions, you can always ask them. We have a question also about Pinless Debit. So Logan, can you just explain again what it is and how someone can actually sign up for it?
Yeah, absolutely. So Pinless Debit is a processing solution that routes through interbank networks. And ultimately what this does is it routes through, instead of through Visa and MasterCard, an interbank network is more like Pulse or Star, things that usually process debit cards through an actual POS system. And ultimately, this results in a lower chargeback rate and reduced chargeback fraud. And so that would be the major benefit of routing your debit traffic to Pinless Debit.
Great, thank you.
And I can actually elaborate a little bit more. Visa and MasterCard actually, they help you through the chargeback process. They hold your hand through it, and they make it very easy to commit friendly fraud or chargeback fraud. So this would, also reduce the rate of chargeback fraud.
Got it. Oh, yeah. Thanks, Logan. Looks like we have a question about rebill pre-auth. So we had mentioned that last week. Yes, we actually had a client speak about how they use rebill pre-auth for their business. So I guess, Logan, can you tell us a little bit about, again, what rebill pre-auth is and what are some best practices for it?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So we had a guest speaker on our previous webinar when we introduced rebill pre-auth, Drew, and he did a great job of emphasizing the benefits to reducing chargeback rate on your cycle 1 and cycle 2 and basically any rebill. I'd mentioned ultimately the premise behind this is that if you enable the feature, X days prior to the natural rebill date, we're performing an authorization on the card. What this does is it presents the descriptor and the transaction on the bank statement for the customer earlier than the actual funds are transferred. And so what this does is an authorization can't be charged back. So a customer that sees that and might not, want that purchase anymore, they would call their bank and they actually can't charge the transaction back because it hasn't been captured yet, which prompts them to call the merchant and reverse the transaction through a void or refund. And ultimately, this can, drastically reduce your rebill 1 chargeback rates, which is the depth that you're most prone to receiving chargeback. And actually, Val, I'm going to actually, if you don't mind, I'm going to grab your screen and show.
Yeah, go for it.
So I'd mentioned on this webinar that we were expanding, and this is actually going out tomorrow. So it's not available today. But I wanted to point out here that when you enable the feature, you set a number X days prior, as I mentioned. This drop-down actually today in production only supports 5 days prior to rebill. We've added up to 10 days. And one thing that I want to mention is that you do want to double check with your gateway to make sure that it's capable of handling a 10-day authorization. Some gateways will clean up an auth if you don't capture it within, for instance, 7 days. So you do want to be careful with that setting. But ultimately, again, let's say 10 days prior to a rebill, let's say on day, if it's a 30-day recurrence, on day 20, you would perform an authorization, get that on their bank statement, and give them 10 days to call the merchant back and reverse the transaction.
Gotcha. Thanks for doing the demo. And Logan, follow-up question on rebill pre-auth. What gateways is it currently available on?
So we have that available within Inovio and checkout.com. And I've also mentioned in the past that we'll be adding it to NMI and our NMI white labels, which includes the Limelight Gateway. So that's coming in the near future as well.
Got it. And actually looks like we have a a pretty interesting question here. Um, you know, there's been, given like around what the industry is going through, right? Maybe Greg, this one is more for you. You know, what have we seen are kind of the best billing models and practices across kind of the industry right now?
Yeah, so traditionally, a lot of our clients are running the traditional risk-free trial, which is the day zero ship, no bill, and then that recurs into a charge. And one of the cool features we've built out into our new offers functionality is a way to do that delayed charge that doesn't require you to build another product. Traditionally, you'd have to build a shippable product that rebills into a non-shippable product to kind of do that 14-day charge on that trial. With our new offers construct, you just simply set that up as delayed billing. So you would set up a trial for $0 and a delayed billing 14 days later. And 30 days from that initial shipped trial product, you could have your recurring product. And that's kind of the traditional risk-free model that we see a lot of our clients set up. You know, we have a lot of people that are moving towards kind of like the box business setup, where you see that they're not exactly putting everyone on a 30-day cycle. I've worked with a number of clients that kind of have 2 batches of shipments they do every month. So if you're in the first half of the month, they'll send you product on the 15th. If you're in the second half of the month, they'll send you product on the 30th. And one of the great things about our billing models is you can define the day a shipment is sent out. So if I set up a billing model that says bill on the 15th of every month and set up another one that says bill on the 30th of every month, I can then drop those customers into those buckets based on when their purchase was and when they should be receiving product. So those are kind of the traditional models I've seen set up.
Great, thanks, thanks, Greg. I also just wanted to point out, this isn't just for questions. If you have product requests or feedback, we love feedback because we want to make the platform work as best as it can for you guys. So any feedback that you have about how our current features work, or maybe something that you don't have that's missing, that's also very much welcome. Let's see, let me just look through the...
And well, actually, I'm glad that you mentioned that. I totally forgot that we had a request to add rebill pre-auth to Meritus as well. So that's coming down the pipe. I forgot to mention that in the list.
Great, thanks. Okay, it looks like we have a few more questions here. Oh, Chad, this one's for you. What do you think of Google Analytics, and is it worth spending time in it to kind of like get to know it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess this is, again, it's a personal preference question, but I'll give you my opinion. I love Google Analytics. I've used it for a long time and continue to use it. The challenge with Google Analytics, or really any third-party software that is outside of your CRM, your platform, is that I've always questioned the transactional data, because you can get that data into Google Analytics through their e-commerce features. But, if you read into their documentation, they'll say that, it's a percentage wrong because of the type of reporting. It's a pixel-based reporting. So, again, it's great for trending. I wouldn't be without it. I would always use it. We've got some pretty cool integrations with our reports that you can use with Google, supplement with Google Analytics data. And Greg knows quite a bit about that. He actually handled that piece. So yeah, I mean, I personally I love it, and wouldn't say don't use it because that data is really good for trending. Really good.
Yeah, typically our analytics is really order centric, so monitoring what happens after the order. But if you're really trying to kind of monitor the traffic that's being sent to your site, whether you're using an affiliate or an email marketing campaign or Google AdWords, and you want to really monitor the success of that campaign as far as the quality of traffic that's getting to your site, then Google Analytics is kind of a necessary piece to that. Because we're kind of post-order, and that's sort of the integrations we've worked on with Google Analytics, is kind of trying to provide that full picture from session to retention, and kind of everything in between.
I think one of the coolest reports, and I probably should hit this one at some point, Val, in one of these webinars, but is the conversion rate dashboard. The conversion rate dashboard only works when you do the Google Analytics integration like Greg's talking about, and it's great because what it gives you is it gives you the ability to track your conversion rate. So orders divided by visitors or sessions, to see how your offers are trending. You can tell immediately. It's probably the first indicator that I would want to look at personally to see if my business is trending in a good way or a bad way. So yeah, there's a couple of features. There's attribution reporting that we have that's using Google Analytics. And so, yeah, we I think as a company really are fans of Google Analytics.
Yeah, especially if you're running marketing campaigns that's on like a CPC, a cost per click, stuff like that, is you really want to know if that marketing dollar is going somewhere. And if you're just seeing, a very low percentage of that traffic convert, then, maybe you need to start thinking about, a different approach to that as well.
Gotcha. Yeah. Chad, kind of follow up. Can I get chargeback or refund data from my decline managed transactions?
Can I get chargeback refund data from my decline managed? Well, I've gotten that a couple times lately. So yeah, I'm working on that. Working on that for sure.
I think that's a good example, guys, of feedback or requests that you have. Those coming. This is actually a pretty, obviously a very big hot topic right now, and in general in e-commerce is churn. So since we have our product experts on the line, do any of you guys have any suggestions or strategies for clients to help them reduce churn? And maybe Logan, you can speak to some of the actual features that we have that help reduce churn.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would definitely recommend features like Account Updater. That would allow for you to keep your cards on file up to date and ensure that you don't bill an old card and lose out on subscription. So that would be a good example.
Yeah, so there's actually like two types of churn, right? Like voluntary churn and involuntary churn. So what Logan is speaking to is more for involuntary churn. So that's like if your customer's transactions decline. Our decline manager is obviously great for that as well. That can help reduce your involuntary churn that's just due to transactions failing or not processing. But also there's obviously lots of strategies for reducing voluntary churn, right? And maybe Greg or Chad, if you have any any tips to share, because I know Chad, you used to run a business yourself. But obviously what comes first to mind for me is customer experience, right? If you're engaged with your customers and you're communicating frequently and really building that loyalty and engagement, I think that obviously helps reduce churn as well.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that, because I talked to a client, a few days ago, and his churn rate was, extremely low. He seems to retain people for a long period of time. He doesn't have very high churn. And I kind of asked him what he does. And he will specifically tell his customer service people, and he'll also target people that he thinks that are on, risk of churning. And he'll basically say, I'll give you 75% off your next month billing. If somebody calls in and says, hey, I want to cancel, I really just can't afford it anymore. He'll be like, well, how about we give you a discount on your next billing, and that retains them for another month. And it also builds like what you're talking about, is that loyalty is, okay, this guy's willing to work with me. And he retains his customers. He doesn't lose customers because of it. So, offering promotional discounts and stuff like that for people that are, loyal customers to you, I think, it can always help.
I would just add to what Greg said there is that I think there's a lot of work to be done inside call centers and support centers to reduce churn. So that's the area I focused on when I ran my business. I made the call center really a profit center through simple churn tactics. And I mean, we could have a whole webinar on churn. We could talk for hours on churn and bore everybody to death. But it really is a popular topic right now. It's funny that it came up because, and Greg, I didn't know that you had questions about this recently, but I've seen a significant increase in the percentage of people going to our churn dashboard. It's now the second most popular dashboard. And sales by retention, which has always been a really popular report, is not so popular anymore. And I think it's maybe a couple things going on. I think there's a changing mentality in the industry that is more focused on churn and reducing it. And I think the old school the way that people used to look at churn is changing. I hear it in the conversations that I have, and it's really encouraging. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add that to what Greg was saying. If you, for example, one of the tactics is to offer promotions to kind of the clients that you see that are most likely to churn or having a negative experience. In order to be able to do that, you actually have to be able to identify who those customers are, and that's where something like segmentation can really help, right? So maybe think about
and going along with what Greg had mentioned in discounts, we actually are in the process of developing an integration with a third party called Referral Candy. This is a referral and loyalty program that allows for you to offer, discounts to your most loyal of customers that are referring to, other customers, and ultimately, giving them that level of care and, benefit of purchasing. It can definitely reduce churn. So that's coming in the future as well.
And I think the uptick of people, kind of monitoring their churn is also, traffic's a little bit harder to come by. And I think, the mentality before was, somebody drops off, I'll get a new person on. And, as a branded merchant, I think you need to have a little bit more, faith and loyalty in your business to say, retaining a customer is much more valuable than getting a new customer. And I think that's where we're kind of starting to see the trend go is people just aren't looking to lose customers anymore, and they're looking to do whatever means necessary not to lose a customer.
Much more valuable and much more costly to acquire a new customer than to retain an existing customer. So there's also obvious cost benefits to that. So I think we're almost up on time. So I think that's all we got for you today, folks. But this was I think this was really great. It was a good chat session. So we're gonna, I think, continue doing this every webinar. The next one is in 2 weeks. It's every other Tuesday. So make sure to join and bring your questions, feedback, suggestions. And the next webinar that we have is Thursday, July 5th. So that's next Thursday. And that's going to be dedicated just to benchmarks. And we have a guest speaker for you. So thanks everybody for joining today. And until next time.
Thank you.